This is an excerpt from my new book, Into the Dark. It's from a chapter titled Leaving Leignsbridge. Leaving Leignsbridge on a sunny Thursday morning, just as the town was beginning to stir, Catherine observed a burial east of the trading route and just outside of the regular graveyard. No clergyman was present, only the diggers. The two men tossed the small, shrouded body they'd brought there on a barrow into the shallow pit and began covering it with earth just as the harlots passed. Bridget nudged Catherine with her elbow. "Bright side? She won't have nothing to fear no more." Catherine frowned. She thought she might be a bit slow today because she didn't quite understand. She'd been hurting most of the night and hadn't slept much. Her last caller had wanted special, and he'd wanted it several times over. He'd paid in advance. Looking back, she knew she should have turned him down. She'd seen it in his eyes. He'd been brutal, and she hadn't been at all in control of the situation and nearly panicked. Having decided against calling for help nonetheless, she'd endured for as long as she could. But she'd finally had to do something. His sudden headache had made him feel nauseous, and he'd forgotten all about the other things he'd promised to do to her in the course of the night. Rolling over on his back, he'd moaned and pressed his hands to his temples. She'd been afraid she might have overdone it and lain there for a time, just waiting. She was always afraid someone might suspect. How was it going to look if the men she serviced came out of her tent ill or even feet first? There would be talk in either case, or even worse. And if she didn't perform, she didn't get paid. Simple as that. Who? Who are we talking about? Amber, Bridget returned absently. Deirdre says they found her floating in the river a bit downstream yesterday. She drowned herself. That wasn't hard to believe. The way Amber had looked at Brendan and Saul had spoken volumes. Observing them, Catherine would have categorised both men as pigs, and she knew firsthand what it meant to have a pig between your legs when you were barely old enough to bleed. Amber hadn't been very strong. You had to be strong if you wanted to survive the pigs and all the other animals in this line of work.